The California Condor is one of the world's most critically endangered species, and the conservation story is still being written as we speak. And it's actually quite a paradox, because ultimately what we're trying to do with the condor is work ourselves out of a job.
Most often you find out that species are usually on the verge of extinction, not because of natural processes. It's usually because of some unintended consequence of our actions. Some populations of raptors sink so low in numbers that we have to breed the birds in captivity. This was true with the California Condor. We have here at the World Center for Birds of Prey the largest captive flock of California condors. There were just 22 left and they were almost gone. And now that we've studied them to such a degree, that one small piece of a greater environment, we now understand that their leading cause of death is not something they evolved with. It's something recent of the last couple hundred years, and it's lead poisoning. And it's lead poisoning that I as a hunter and an angler, had inadvertently put into the environment, into a food chain. And then those birds succumb to lead poisoning. It's a communication problem because no hunter or angler out there would want to harm any wildlife by their actions today.
First, the captive breeding program was essential to the success of the bird. Secondly, we were going to need to actually implement those releases to the wild and bolster the wild population, mimicking what a sustainable population would look like. And third, education and outreach became a key component of the recovery effort, and that involved trying to educate people on what the limiting factors were and how lead poisoning was impacting condors and other species on the landscape.
The Peregrine Fund started releasing birds in Arizona in 1996. And together with our partners, we really started to bring those populations back up. It was a huge effort, and the efforts were working though, because we were able to start releasing birds again just a few years later.
In the spring of 2023, we started losing condors in the wild. We started finding birds dying and sick, and we realized pretty quickly that it wasn't actually lead poisoning. What it turned out to be was HPAI, or Highly Pathogenic Avian Influenza. It wasn't something that we had anticipated in the recovery of the species, but it became an immediate threat and one that we took very seriously.
There were 21 birds in total lost. 8 birds were recovered alive and brought to Liberty Wildlife for treatment. Unfortunately, only 4 have survived. To kind of put that number into perspective, if this would have hit back in 1982, when there were only 22 birds left in the entire world, it could have potentially wiped out the entire species.
Out of those difficult moments came this shining bright spot of a single egg that was laid in a cave during the whole HPAI event. That egg was laid by the female 316. A 316 had died from HPAI. And so the team went up on top of the Vermilion Cliffs, and they were able to enter this cave, and sure enough, there was this beautiful egg in this cave, and they were able to pick it up safely. They placed it in a cooler with heat warmers to keep it warm. They got it all the way back down the Vermilion Cliffs, and we immediately sent it on its way to Liberty Wildlife in Phoenix, Arizona, to our veterinary team partners. And it turns out that the embryo was still alive. They waited, and eventually, that egg hatched with an assisted hatch by the veterinary team.
It's good. Avascular.
They found a healthy condor chick.
Dry. Yeah.
Condor 1221.
We just love them as much as we can while they're still around.
Once she was cleared and we knew she didn't have HPAI, we were really excited to be able to bring her back here to be reared. It really brought a boost to everyone on the team here. We felt like there was something we could do to help. The next couple of days, we just sat outside of the nest of the chosen foster pair and just waited till we had a good opportunity to swap her into the nest.
And so later this month, 1221, will be transported with an additional 11 birds that will be released in the Vermilion Cliffs National Monument. I can tell you there's a lot of chatter and a lot of excitement about seeing that bird take its first flight off of the Vermilion Cliffs. We've seen so much success and the potential that exists there for California condors, but we also recognize that we have a difficult path ahead. You know, this isn't going to be easy. It's not been smooth sailing to this point, and we certainly expect to encounter more difficult situations down the road. But we're very hopeful.
California Condor recovery is one of our most important projects. It's one of the next great conservation success stories in North America.
We've seen people cry at the release, and that's very emotional for us as well, because we realize that, hey, yeah, we are making progress.
If that was not happening, it's very likely that North America's largest flying land bird would be extinct today. We have this awesome interpretive center here at the World Center for Birds of Prey, where people can connect with these birds and also connect with Peregrine Fund projects. We do the science that informs the decisions that we make in order to save birds. But then we also do the education and the outreach that is essential to changing sometimes very simple behaviors that lead to lasting conservation results.
Condors are incredibly resilient, and 1221 is just a modern day sign of that resiliency. They can thrive if we give them the opportunity.